Pomegranates, let's talk about some smut. Hello everyone, this is Gabby and today we are talking steamy books. I don't know what that was, but we're rolling with it. So yes, today I want to talk to you about my favorite steamy romances. Okay, disclaimers, I guess. I don't read that much romance, but I do enjoy it, and when I read it I want it to be smutty, because you know, like, if I'm gonna read a contemporary book, I need something because I'm not about that contemporary life. So you know, I've been experimenting with a bit more smutty stuff. Funny enough, the smuttiest thing I think I've ever read in my life was a Harry Potter fan fiction, but it was about the Marauders, and I read that when I was like, I don't know, 17 or something, and since then nothing quite hit the heights of fanfiction smut, I gotta say. But there's been some things that I've enjoyed, so I wanted to share that with you. It's part of my Valentine's Day content. I'm gonna have a video coming up with my favorite sapphic couples, as well as my favorite standalones. So I don't know, stick around. I feel like I look deathly pale with this shirt on, but I got it from my parents and I thought it was really cute, and it says love is forever, smut is forever as well. I have 10 books and I tried to order them in the order of spiciness from least spicy to most spicy, but this is based on my very poor memory. Like, somehow I didn't clock or didn't remember there's a fisting scene in She Who Became the Sun, and that's all TikTok ever talks about. Somehow it didn't even register. It didn't even, I was like, huh? Really? Interesting. This is based on my memory. So if I say something is not smutty and that there's loads of smut, I'm sorry. So first book I want to talk to you about is You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. So in this book we follow two telenovela stars as they work in the project together, and I think the main girl, she had a boyfriend and a very public breakup, and then she gets cast in this movie or this telenovela with this other actor who is very, very shut away and very private. So he doesn't want to get in a relationship or anything like that with this woman because he thinks drama follows, because she's famous and stuff. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really cute. It's not the spiciest. I'm pretty sure there was like a 1 or 2 spicy scenes, but that's pretty much it. It's more on the side of like sweet romance. It's like people coming together and overcoming their previous biases and traumas, and I really, really enjoyed it for that aspect. And I really, really liked all the talking about telenovela and that kind of thing. That was really cool. Yeah, it's not the spiciest of the bunch, but from what I remember, it was pretty good, and it's like really good romance. So I would recommend it still. Number 2 is The Marionettes by Katie Wismer. Now, the reason it's number 2 is because there's really not any smut in book 1. So in this book we follow a girl who's a witch, and she goes to this academy for marionettes, and marionettes are like elite witches who are kind of bodyguards and advisors to vampires, and the vampires are kind of on the top of the food chain in this world. So Valerie, the main character, has been experiencing some loss of powers, and she gets partnered up with the son of the queen of vampires as her like marionette body. So like I said, the first book is, I would really consider this a slow burn, because the first book there isn't too much smut. There is one scene, I guess they kind of consider, but it's not super, super over the top or anything. And then book 2, so again, it's just one scene, but that one scene goes on for ages, and we go through like phases, baby. It's a whole thing. And if you like kind of secret in public stuff, I don't know if that's like a genre, I'm sure it is. There you go. I really, really enjoyed it. I think book 1 was good and book 2 was magnificent, and I cannot wait for book 3. But yeah, that sex scene in book 2 was detailed and long, so it's only a number 2 because there's only one and only in book 2, but the quality was perfect. So there you go. Number 3 is A Lord of Eternal Night by Ben Alderson. So this book is a male-male retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So in this one we follow Jack, who is the beauty. He's also a witch, the only one left in his coven who actually has powers. And then we have Marius, who's the beast slash a vampire who's like sequestered away in this castle, and he has a curse put on him, and Jack has to go and try to kill the beast. But then of course, somehow they fall into anal. This is a reference to the author's TikTok. I did not just say that by myself. I really like the author and his TikToks, so I read it because of his TikToks, and it was really good. It was a really sweet romance. There was a handful of sex scenes, not like a crazy amount, but it was quite like detailed. It's definitely not faded to black if you're into that, so I thought I'd mention it. But I really enjoyed it, and I think for the romance as well it was interesting, and the world building was quite interesting, and I really liked the ending because it was kind of like morally grey kind of thing, which is just something I enjoy. Next up we have the whole Brown Sisters series by Talia Hilbert. So the book 1 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Book 2 is Get a Clue, no. Take a Hint, Dani Brown, and book 3 is Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I've not read book 3, so we're just talking book 1 and 2. In the first book, we follow Chloe, who has chronic illness, and she decides that she needs to get a life, so she creates a list that will help her expand her horizons a little bit, and she enlists help of her, like a handyman in her building, I think. That's what it is. And the romance ensues, and then in book 2 we follow Chloe's sister Dani, who decides to fake date a security guard at her university. Whoa, these are hot. I don't know, for me they did a lot of things for me. I really enjoyed it. I feel so embarrassed talking about this. I really enjoyed it. I think both of the, like, the character development is just so good, and the romance is so angsty and good, but also makes sense. And I love that the characters are attracted to each other, and they just kind of admit it to themselves and to each other. I mean, I love good old denial as much as the next person. Like, there is something just so angsty about the denial, but then being able to just come out and be like, yeah, hot. I want to get into that. I love it. I love it. It's just the empowerment of it is awesome. And what I really like about these books is that the third act, you know, breakup drama comes from like past traumas, and it makes sense. It's not some contrived miscommunication, although it is usually miscommunication, but it's miscommunication because I've been through so much shit that I'm trying to protect myself, and I can appreciate that. So I think that was just done so well, and I really enjoy that aspect. And especially I don't know which one I preferred actually, but I read Take a Hint, Dani Brown more recently, and oh my god, the sex scenes were so good. They're well described, but they're not full of like super cliche words. Like, I hate when people don't just say what they mean, you know, in the sex scene. It's just like, use all of these like euphemisms that just make it so much worse. This is an X-rated book. Just use the P word, you know what I mean? Use the C word. Use them all. Just say sex. Why are you being so weird about, like, an member? Oh, I read a book and it's an appendage for the you know, boy parts. Appendage. I was like, no thank you. Actually, it was one of the books I'm gonna recommend, I think. I don't remember. Was it Lord of Eternal Night? I was not impressed with appendage if it was. Maybe it was Bay of Sighs. I know, I was reading them at the same time, so I got confused. Appendage is nothing, but I don't think Talia Hilbert does that at all. I think she does a brilliant job, and I really love the whole series, and I really want to read Act Your Age, Eve Brown as well. Next up we have A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. So this is another companion series, and I think it's called Reluctant Royals. So in this book we follow a woman who's like a betrothed to a prince of an African country, like a fictionalized African country. Is betrothed to him, but she didn't know because she grew up in America and her parents never told her, and he comes to kind of get to know her and collect her. But when he meets her for the first time, she mistakes him from someone else, so it's kind of like a false identity romance. It was really hot. I really enjoyed the couple. It was a really good time. I don't know if it was more detailed or more smutty than Brown Sisters. I think it's similar, but there's also book 2, which is a spin of like a small novella, and it's called Once Ghosted, Twice Shy, which is a spin-off, and it's sapphic. And I really enjoyed that one. That one only had the sex scene at the end, but it's also a very short book, so you know, if you're into that, go ahead. But yeah, really, really solid romance. I really enjoyed it, and I felt all the angst, so that was good. Next up, we have The Countess Conspiracy by Courtney Milan. So this is another companion series, very popular in romance, but this is a book 3 in that series. I don't know what the series is called. I didn't read any of the other books, but this one totally stands on itself, by itself. So in this one, we follow a woman who's like a woman in STEM, you know, it's a historical fiction. It's a historical fiction, and she's really into like genetics, I think, and she's very, very smart, discovered a lot of things, but she can't really present these findings as herself because she's a woman, and she not only would not be respected as a scientist, she would also lose all respect, period. So she goes into this arrangement with her best friend, who's a man, that he will present these as his own findings. So it's friends to lovers. And oh my god, not only was it hot as hell, and it was really cool because it was like the main character had a thing about sex and then overcame it. I really, really loved that. But oh my god, the romance, the way I cared about this bloody couple, you could not believe it. I love them, but you get both POVs and it's just beautiful and angsty, and you're like crying and you're just like breaking your heart, but it's so freaking good. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you, it's just so good. Okay, next up, I'm not gonna like shock anyone, but I wanted to put it on the list because I just think it was done so well. So this is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. One thing I'll say about Sarah J Maas's books, even if plot sucks, the smut doesn't. So usually, well, never mind the cries of dying as Rysand is coming. That's like one thing. In the House of Earth and Blood, I think the plot is super solid. It's Sarah J Maas's first adult novel, and we follow Bryce, whose friend gets murdered, and she gets drafted into an investigation and gets an angel to protect her, and bloody hell. So I did this tweet, and it was like the only time where any of my tweets made a splash whatsoever, but it was like, I don't have balls, but Sarah J Maas is making them blue, and that's exactly how I felt about this book. So it just because the book is enormous, like something else, because the book is so big, it just takes so long to get to the point, but it's amazing. And I love the slow burn. It's just so good. And it's like the angstiness and the sexual tension is just like palpable, but then you keep reading, and the smut is amazing, and I was sold. That's like the only book of hers that I'm like, the sex scenes were good, and the plot was good, and the characters were good, and I 100% say this was good. Actually, that's a lie, because I do really like A Court of Mist and Fury, is it? Book 2 in that series, but book 3 was terrible, so let's not talk about it. Next up, we have Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. So I only read book 1, but this is a series, and not like a companion, but it's a like a paranormal fantasy romance. And we follow a woman who makes the deal with the bargainer, and bargainer is just like this mysterious creature who can kind of grant wishes to an extent. He does something for you, and you get this like bead on your arm, and that's like a promise that you have to pay back. And normally the bargainer collects very quickly, but not this main character. He doesn't collect for a while. So this book is really interesting because I wasn't vibing with the pair 100%, just because when they met, she was very young and he was already an immortal, and it was really uncomfortable. So I didn't like these parts, but I like the parts where they're both adults and they both can consent and all of that, and when they're both a bit more mature. So I really enjoyed those parts, and the smut was really good, and it had like a solid like a mystery element, a paranormal fantasy element as well. So overall, I would quite recommend this. Now I'm thinking, I don't know, yeah, the smut meter is not working very well, I don't think, but it's been a while since I read this, and I really want to actually continue with this series. Next up, we have Ember by Betty Sharp. So this book is this gem that I found years ago. I don't remember, maybe like 2016, 17, I don't know. I read this book ages ago, and it's like a very short novella, and it's a retelling of Cinderella, but in this world, the Prince Charming actually had a curse put on him, so that every time someone looks at him, the face morphs into whatever is the most attractive to that person. So no one actually knows what he looks like without this curse. So he's been cursed with this beauty, but this like unearthly appeal. And the main character, the Cinderella in this case, actually is a witch, and she put some kind of spell on herself so that she doesn't get affected by the prince. And the smut was smutting. This felt a little bit more like fanfiction in the sense that it was really going there, and it was amazing. And the romance was so, it had such a short time to like shine, but boy oh boy, I thought it did an amazing job, and I really would recommend this. This book is not popular at all. I've never heard anyone speak about it at all because it's so old, and I tried like seeing if the author came up with anything else, but nothing really appealed to me, so I don't know, maybe I'll check it out anyway. But yeah, this book was so good. I'm actually thinking I really want to reread it because I remember loving it, but maybe now with my adult brain I would feel differently, I don't know. But I did think this was amazing and no one ever talks about it, so there you go. And the last book on the list is Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. So this book is a dark romance, and like I mean properly dark. There's a lot of like harm, and it's not totally consensual, but there's no sexual assault in the book, but the way they get in a relationship is not consensual. Oh, I should tell you what it's about. So it's a retelling of Hades and Persephone, except Persephone is a daughter of a mafia boss, and Hades used to work for that mafia boss, but now he wants out, and he wants to take the main character with him, and he forces her to marry him, and then takes her on this island, and they live there. I don't know all the specific terms, right? But there's like, he like carves his name into her with a knife, and there's like lapping up of blood and stuff. There's a lot of sex. So I would actually consider this more erotica. So I did have to Google erotica versus just a romance novel. And it did say that in erotica, the sex is what propels the development and the plot, and it's like kind of what it all is centered about. And in this book, it's like so many sex scenes, and they go quite dark, so that's why I thought this was like the smuttiest, because it's also the darkest one. So I don't know if you're into that, but if you are, this one was pretty decent. I thought the writing was good. I always find like sexy talk really embarrassing and not hot at all, so that's just me. The Persephone and Hades references were a bit much, but overall I did enjoy this, and I would recommend it if you want something dark and smutty. Okay, well, those are all of my recommendations. I don't know if I introduced you to anything new. I try not to put anything super popular like the Hating Game or Quiz Quotient, because everyone knows those are amazing. But if you read one book from this, I would recommend Ember, because I just want people to appreciate it more. Maybe then the author will write more books. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. I will have other videos, like I said, coming up. So if any of them sounded interesting, follow, subscribe. I just told you to subscribe anyway. My throat hurts now, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Bye!